doors stays behind closed doors. Not like Vegas where it ends up on YouTube. So when people in the classroom share information about themselves, their office, or anything discussed in confidence, they shall remain confidential and will not be shared again outside the classroom. And number 8, enjoy your time in class. Commit to implementing at least one thing that you learn. So these are our common ground rules that applies throughout the weeks that we have here together. All right, any questions so far? All right, before we get into the material, page number 4 talks about accountability methods. Okay, accountability is the Keller Williams experience, the most critical part of goal achievement. To support your goal setting, we recommend the following. Develop a lead generation action plan. Who wants to guess what a lead generation action plan is? Don't be shy.
Get clients and listings.
Okay, a way of getting clients and listings. What else?
A repeatable system.
Ooh, have a repeatable system. Absolutely, that's a good one. All right.
More time is set aside, either daily or whatever, however.
You guys are good. All right, perfect. Anything else? That's exactly it. So if we take a look at the graph, do you guys have the graph?
Yes.
So we're at page 4 of the graph there. So obviously it first starts with our goals. Okay, we have to set goals. And the old saying is people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. Okay, and that's the biggest situation here is most agents don't even set goals. So that's our first thing we want to do is set goals. Number 2, do key activities. So going out, finding that business. 3, measure our results. Okay, how do you think we measure our results in real estate?
Transactions.
Transactions is
Closed
one.
transactions.
Absolutely. What else? Come on, guys. How do we measure results besides transactions?
By
Oh, okay.
measuring activities.
And Annette mentioned it earlier when she was in here, by measuring activities. Okay, what kind of activities are we going to measure?
Your prospecting, your
Yes.
phone calls, how many before you get a lead? or-
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to dissect, we want to dissect all of that. How much time are we spending in lead generation? How many people are we talking to? How many appointments are we going on? So if we don't know these numbers, how do we know if we're getting better? If we don't know these numbers, how do we know where we need to focus our time? Because when, just a little bit about me, just to share with you guys, I was in management, coaching agents in ownership from about 1999 through, actually January 1st, 1999 through the end of 2014. So managed an office in Northville there, the Global Bankers office, between 2005, which was the beginning of our down market, through 2010. So those were the 5 most difficult years we've seen in real estate in our lifetime. Took that office to the #1 spot in gross closed units in Metro Detroit. So even though it's challenging, we're still able to grow. When I went over to be the operating principal productivity coach at our Keller Williams Plymouth office, we went from 25th to 5th in 3 years. So I'm not saying this to impress you, but to impress upon you, what I'm sharing with you works. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't be up here preaching it. It works in a good market, it works in a bad market, it works if you're experienced, it works if you're unexperienced. So what I'm sharing with you isn't philosophy, doesn't really impact me if you guys take this or not. Okay, but I'm sharing with you because this is how to create a predictable, duplicatable business. All right, so when I have agents that would come to me and they weren't at the business, they weren't at the business level they wanted to be at, we would really have to look at, okay, is it because they're not making the calls, the contacts? And some were making the calls and contacts, okay, but it was something else. And until we knew what these numbers were, we really weren't able to focus on what they needed to do to improve. Make sense? Okay, so these numbers are critical. And in any other business, if people are coming from other businesses, tracking numbers just makes sense. That's what they do. I mean, does McDonald's know how many Happy Meals they sold a year ago this time?
Yes.
And absolutely. Home Depot knows how many stacks of shingles they have and how many they sold. Macy's, they know. I mean, when I was there, I worked in, it was Hudson's at the time, so I'm dating myself. myself a lot when I was in college. You know, we knew what the quota was. I mean, it's just common sense business, but when you get into real estate, you don't hear that talked about a lot. So we want to measure the results. Number 4, we want to evaluate the process. You know, what are the things that we can do to increase, where do we need to focus our time? And number 5, making those adjustments. So that is the accountability methods, that is the lead generation action plan. And the second part of that is accountability. So when you hear accountability, what's the first thing that you think of? Is it positive or is it negative?
Positive.
Positive, okay. All right. Most people, we hear some people in the back shaking their heads no. The reality is that's what most people think of when they think of accountability. They think of negative. And because it can be challenging sometimes. Can you hold yourself accountable? Yes. Okay, we can. In real estate, I would challenge that. Okay, and pretty much in anything, I would challenge that. We want to hold ourselves accountable. We think we can hold ourselves accountable. But there's a difference. If you were going to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym to work out, and you didn't really feel like it was the middle of winter, 5 inches of snow on the ground, that can wait. But if you have a personal trainer, you're paying $100 a session, and they were meeting you there, the accountability just went up, didn't it? Okay, so when there's other people that are holding you accountable or help hold you accountable, you know, you're going to get further. Because there's sometimes you wouldn't do that if it was just left up to yourself. So if you really want to do well in real estate, find as many people as possible to hold you accountable. Who are the people in your life that can hold you accountable? Spouse. Spouse is a great one.
Co-worker.
Co-workers. Who else?
Your coaches.
Your coaches, productivity coaches, other coaches. Who else?
Kids.
Kids. Kids are a great one. And I always use this as in business planning and also accountability. Let's say you have a goal. And let's say your goal is to take your kids to Disney World in a year. Tell your kids. Yeah, put it on a calendar. You know, is that accountability?
Yeah.
Because how would you feel if a year came and you told your kids, you know, Daddy didn't do his job, so I can't take you to Disney?
Ouch.
Terrible.
Yeah, you feel that day, right? So that's a very high level of accountability. There's no turning back. I mean, you're not going to say, well, kids, why don't we go to Cedar Point instead? It's just as fun, right? There is no other option, basically, at that point. If you have kids, you know, they're not going to let you forget. So, again, having this accountability, throwing it out there is going to help you move forward. All right, questions so far? Also, you can have accountability partners, some of your colleagues. You know, create this environment for yourself. You know, and with the spouses, especially if you're getting started in real estate, when you set your goal plan, and that'll be the goal planning session, you know, sit down with your spouse, because real estate is a very challenging business, also very challenging on relationships, because there's hours, there's long hours sometimes, and there's the stress level. So you really, if you're married or you have a significant other, sit down with them and go over your goals together. So, because when they know what you have to go through, and they also know where you want to go, and they're on board with that, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier too. But they're great, great accountability partners. And again, we talked about other agents in the office. All right, page 5. Why you are here. Okay, so in getting started in real estate, let's just take it from a general point. It says, for amusement and excitement, there is nothing like a great roller coaster with steep climbs, fast drops, relentless speeds, tight turns, flips, and sudden stops. Roller coasters are wonderful, adrenaline-pumping entertainment. The fun stops when the roller coaster becomes an analogy for your career in real estate. So who can tell me what this graph on that page represents? The ups and downs. For our seasoned veterans, they know exactly what it is. But what about for some of you new people? What do you think that represents? Why is there a roller coaster when it comes to real estate?
Sign of the times.
Sign of the times, okay. What else?
Because real estate is cyclical, and
and it's a process. So you can secure a listing, and then it's gonna take some time to sell, and then
Okay.
it'll sell.
All right,
So there's gaps.
right, there's gaps, because timing, it's cyclical, what else?
It's time to the county, so.
It's tied to the economy, okay, what else?
There's just certain times of the year that it's not as.
There's certain times of the year, okay, what else? Okay, so this is really good, because this is what most people think. It doesn't have to be your reality, period, at all. Okay, so if it was tied to the market, we would not have been able to grow that office to the #1 spot in the 5 worst years that we've seen in real estate history. Did we make as much money as other years? No, we didn't, because prices were almost half the price. Okay, but we sold more units. We still grew. Okay, it's when the market goes down or the market goes up. If you're still 5th or 15th and the market goes up, you're still there. You didn't really grow any. The market grew. But if you went from here to here and jumped over a lot of other offices, you're getting your better share because you're growing as a company or growing as agents. So just because the market is up or down doesn't mean your real estate business has to be up or down. Why? People still die. People get divorced. People get job transfers. People get married. People have kids. So no matter how bad the market is, there's still people buying and selling real estate. Is it at the high degree that it is maybe today? No. All right, but there's still enough. But also, when the market gets tough, guess what happens to the agent population?
It's small.
It gets down to. When the market goes up, we see more people getting in it. Okay, that's just the reality of it. So it doesn't have to be tied to the market at all. All right, so then we also go back to, well, it takes time. You know, it takes time to secure the listing for that listing to sell. And that's really why we do see the ups and downs in real estate. But it doesn't have to be that way. So when we look at this graph, this is what it's really telling us. I'm no artist, but what do we have here? So we just kind of have the ups and downs in real estate. So what we have here, this is today, and we're starting our business. You know, really, it's probably more like that. That's going to be the more accurate, where it takes time to build up your business. Because real estate is a 90-day cycle. So the activities you do today are not going to pay off for 90 days. So that's one of the most challenging parts of real estate. Because if you're a painter, you can go into a house and you paint a room, you know, you can see what you did. And if you didn't paint anything that day, you know, you're not working. But with real estate, you could go 90 days before all the stuff pays off. And that's the thing that you have to remember. And also what Annette said earlier, you know, she was pretty bummed about missing out on that listing and not getting it. But she also was aware that every day she's doing what she needs to do to get to her goal. So she has the faith that if I do these things, I will reach my goal. So if you do these things every single day, go home with your head held high. It doesn't matter if you got a listing. It doesn't matter if you got an appointment. Okay, it only matters if I'm doing what I know I need to do, that in 90 days, and after that, I'm going to have the business I want to have. That's the most critical part. But what happens here is, let's say, for those that are experienced in real estate, you know, you do lead generation, you're doing lead generation, you get all this business, and because this business, it takes time, it takes your energy. Okay, what do you think happens to your lead generation? Goes in the back. So why would I spend time lead generating when I got these new listings, these new buyers that I'm dealing with right now? I'll do lead generation later. So now these deals close. Guess what happens to your business?
Goes down.
Goes down. And now you're like, oh no. And then you get back on the phones or knocking on doors or talking to people, and you get more business. That lead generation, what happens?
Backmark.
It's on the back seat. Okay, so you close out these deals, and then you're down here again. So this is the typical cycle of a typical average agent's real estate business. Okay? How do we fix that? Because yes, if you like roller coasters, that's a fun ride. Okay? If you like a stable, predictable business, it shouldn't look like that, should it? The only way for us to have a business that is more like that is how?
Have a process.
Pardon me?
Have a process and stick to it.
Have a process that you stick to, great. What's that process? Constant lead generation, okay? I know we're gonna hear that a lot today. Because again, it's the foundation. So what's more important, a listing presentation or your lead generation time?
Lead generation.
Good, I know you guys are telling me what I wanna hear. It's lead generation, it is. So let's say you have a customer and they can only meet in the morning, and that's your lead generation time. Okay, what do you do?
Meet them in the morning, get up earlier.
Okay, get up earlier, okay? So I'm not gonna stand up here and say, don't do it in the morning. I know sometimes agents that wouldn't do it in the morning. All right, but if you have to meet with them and you've done everything you can to try and schedule that, because sometimes we just ask people, well, how about a Saturday, or how about this time? Most of the times, it'll work out, but we don't ask them that. All right? So, but if that's the only option, you did everything you could to reschedule that, then reschedule lead generation. Okay, but if you move it, you have to replace it. All right, just don't eliminate it. Again, because that's 90 days. So we have to keep up that momentum. Make sense? Questions? Okay. So, let's go to page 6, wrapping up that. It says, obviously we can do this, anyone can, but not everyone will. So, did anyone see, it's an older movie, did anyone see A League of Their Own? Okay, so there's the scene, let me see if I can get this, it's only like a minute long. Let me get this turned on. Maybe. That didn't kick on. The projector here.
I hear it.
As I push the button again, which may have turned it off.
Yeah, just stop.
There we go. We got a commercial there. Sorry. We need to watch the commercial of Steven Spielberg. I can't skip it. Evacuate the island. Sorry, guys. All right, here we go.
Taking a little day trip?
No, Bob and I are driving home to Oregon.
You know, I really thought you were a ball player.
Well, you were wrong.
Was I?
Yeah. It is only a game, Jimmy. It's only a game, and I don't need this. I have Bob. I don't need this. I don't.
I gave away 5 years at the end of my career to drinking. 5 years. And now there isn't anything I wouldn't give to get back any one day of it.
Well, we're different.
Shit, Donnie. You want to go back home to Oregon and make 100 babies? Great. I'm in no position to tell anyone how to live. But sneaking out like this, quitting, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Baseball is what gets inside you. It's what lights you up. You can't deny that.
It just got too hard.
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard That's what makes you great.
I mean, it's the same thing about real estate, guys, in sales. There's gonna be times in your career, especially in getting started, when you're on this slow upward, and it doesn't even feel like it's upward. But if you're doing everything you need to do on a daily basis, it's upward. But there's gonna be times that you're gonna wanna quit, because it's harder. Okay, and the reality is, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So it's the hard that makes it great. So realizing that those challenges are in front of you, realizing that, and so many people quit a foot from the finish line, or a foot from, reaching their goal. But they don't know what was on the other side. They just feel like, well, I'm not having a lot of success. It's been 80 days, or maybe it's been 90 days, where they would have pushed just a little bit further, kept going, okay, they would reach their goals. All right, so again, what we're sharing with you, it's not that simple process. Okay, and they say it's easy. I kind of question that, because it is challenging, but it's not complicated. But if we just focus on this, okay, anyone can do it. So you guys up for the challenge?
Yeah.
Okay, sure? Okay, then let's take a look at where we're at here, page 7. What we're going to learn. All right, this session is labeled the power of one. What do you think they're talking about? Anyone want to guess? The power of one.
Something that drives you or pushes you to succeed.
What drives you, pushes you to succeed? Okay, what else?
That all success comes from the lead generation.
That all success comes from the lead generation. Okay, what else? Okay, we're going to hold on to that thought then. We'll get to it in a couple pages. So, we're learning to focus on that one thing in real estate. Obviously, we talked about lead generation. Once you've adopted the mindset of a focused lead generator, committed to 3 hours of lead generation a day. Does that scare some people? 3 hours of lead generation. Okay. So when they talk about that, they don't necessarily mean go door to door for 3 hours, be on the phone for 3 hours. It's setting that time to prepare. Who am I going to contact? Okay, getting the numbers, getting everything ready, making those contacts, but then also creating the follow-up. Like, if you talk to new people, are you setting up in your database? Are you sending them a note, a letter, an email? So it's that whole process. So, it's probably more of an hour, but they want you to set 3 hours because you're preparing, you're doing it, and then you're creating a follow-up. All right. So if we look at our course map for the 36-12-3, this is what it looks like. And so at the bottom of page 7. So again, it's that foundation, the power of one. Because if we don't get this right, it's like building a house. And you're not on a solid foundation, no matter how beautiful a house you build, it's going to have problems. Because it's not on a secure foundation. So that's what we have here today. Let's go on to the next page. And let's actually skip to page 9. The power of one. And this was really the starting point of, and this was written many, many years ago, 36-12-3. It's been rewritten and revised over time, but this was really the key point where they got the one thing from. When Gary would always talk about the power of one. So take a look at this. And let's see here. Actually, we'll go through it together. So have you ever looked at someone you thought was incredibly successful at something and wondered how they got that way? You see their seemingly effortless ability to do things day in and day out, and you're amazed at their discipline. Well, the truth is they got there through the power of one. They set one important foundational goal, focused on one fundamental discipline, and developed one empowering habit that supported achieving their goal. So when you look at it, it's like, wait a minute, they're doing more than one thing, right? But where did it start from? It started for them saying, okay, what's the best thing that I can do? If I do well, will give me the most growth. So it says here it goes, sounds simple, okay? Or excuse me, it says, yeah, sounds simple, that's because it is. In fact, so simple, many people miss it. Not because they haven't heard it, but because they don't believe it. So this course is about making believers in you. So what they talk about here is basically two things. The principle of greatest leverage, so this is at that bottom graph. So on the left-hand side, the principle of greatest leverage, and on the right side, the timeless truth of one thing begets another. Okay, so those two things together will give the power of one, which gives us our achievement. So let's look at the greatest leverage. Who's familiar with the Pareto principle? You hear that a lot. The Pareto principle. Who can tell me what that means? Okay, how about the 80-20 rule? Okay, because that's basically what the Pareto principle is, the 80-20. What does that mean? So 20% of our activities will give us 80%, okay, of our success or our achievement. Okay, that's what they talk about leverage. So if that's the case, where do we want to spend most of our time?
20%.
In that 20%, because that's leveraging. So if I spent, the same amount of hours in that 20% of my activity, or the 80%, I want to have a lot more success than the time that I spent in my 20%, correct? Okay, that's what they're talking about, leverage. All right, what do you think is in our 20% in real estate?
Lead generation.
Lead generation. You guys are good. You catching the theme here? Okay, so what else besides lead generation? There's actually more.
Referrals, man.
Okay, that's part of lead generation is getting the referrals. Yeah, good. What else?
Marketing?
Kind of in the middle. Okay, because the challenging thing is, because marketing is important, but it's also passive. So that's what, we have to plan for marketing, but it's also, we're waiting for people to come to us, versus that 20% should be us going to them, or what else?
Maybe follow-up?
Follow-up, yeah, you're talking to somebody. Okay, so would a listing presentation fall in our 20%? Would a buyer consultation fall in our 20%?
Yes.
Absolutely. Writing an offer. Yeah, all that's at 20%. Following up, 20%. So let's say you're putting a listing in the MLS. Is that in the 20%? Or is that in our 80%?
80%.
80%, right. Okay, because that's basically you're supporting. And you can look at it this way, that 20% is income generating versus income servicing. So that's a great way of looking at it. When you're doing activity, is it income generating? Okay, and that's typically when you're face-to-face with somebody or on the phone with somebody, or is it income servicing? Okay, most agents spend a majority of their time in that income servicing. They spend a majority of their time feeling like they're busy. They're doing stuff, okay? But did they do income generating that day? Probably not. So if you spend more time in income generating, okay, you could hire someone to do that servicing. Okay? You get paid a lot of money, not for servicing. Servicing is a $12 an hour job. Let's be honest. Income generating, it's hundreds of dollars an hour. So where do you want to spend your time?
20%.
So that is that leverage part. So let's go on to, then the second part is one thing begets another. Okay, what do you think they're talking about? One thing begets another. So when we talk about those, looking at successful people, I'm wondering, how did they do it? We first said that they focused on one thing. And then if you do that one thing really well, and you create the habits, okay, of doing that one thing, is that next thing a little bit easier? Absolutely. Okay, have you ever heard about the rich getting richer? Okay, that's one thing begets another. They learn the principles of how to generate income, and they duplicate that. That same principle works the reverse, about the poor getting poorer. Okay, it's doing those same things over and over again, but expecting the different result. But if you learn these things and do the same things over and over again for that positive result, it makes it a lot easier. So you're not going to, be a great agent if just one principle. But that one, which is the biggest principle, lead generation, once you have that, it's going to make everything a lot easier. Okay, so that's the second point of Gary's topic here. So let's look at page 13. Okay, what's under the hood? So what makes a computer operate? What makes a clock tick? What makes a car run? The simplistic answer is there's something under the hood that makes them work. And for each, it's different. So our question is, what's under the hood of a great real estate career that keeps it successfully running and running and running? And that answer is, as you can see,
Lead generation.
Lead generation. Again, I told you guys are going to hear this a lot. Okay? Because lead generation is the sales engine and focus effort is the fuel. Because if you had a beautiful Ferrari sitting in your garage but there was no gas in it, how useful is it?
Not
It's pretty
much.
to look at, but doesn't do a whole lot. Okay, so you can learn these principles, but if you don't start to implement them, if you don't put a plan together, if you're not being held accountable, it's not going to go far. So your focused effort is the fuel. Why we say focused effort? Were you ever a kid, you had a magnifying glass and you try and catch things on fire? Okay. What is that? Why does that happen?
It's focused energy.
It's focused energy. Absolutely. So it's putting on blinders in a way and saying, okay, I believe this is the path. Not just because some agent told me, not because my productivity coach is telling me, but I see in other agents in my office, this is what they did. So talk to Michael Perna. One of the biggest agents, not in our office, not in our state, but across the country. Talk to Mark Z, another top agent. Okay, and I had the privilege of working with Mark Z when I was at Coldwell Banker. He's one of my agents. So I kind of saw the beginning of this. Okay, before there was big budgets and you saw him on TVs and billboards and whatever, he started by doing what? Lead generation. Okay, and kind of a funny story about Mark. Mark is just one of those people that he knows a lot of people. He's got a big sphere of influence, which is great. I mean, he could fall out of bed every day and just do about $7 million in business.
Wow.
Which is a good business. All right, but also knowing Mark, he wanted more. Okay, so his natural ability, and we all have natural abilities, but there's a ceiling to that natural ability. Someone's natural ability, maybe they can do $1 million, okay, in sales. Mark, because of the sphere and the family, he had a higher natural ability, but he kept hitting that 7 million mark. Okay, he wanted more. So he had to start doing things differently. Okay, so he started lead generating. He never did a listing appointment before. Before all this, he would go to his clients, which was either friends or family, and saying, here's what it's selling for, sign here.
Wow.
And that was really about it. But he knew for him to have different results, he had to have different activities. So those activities made him uncomfortable. It took him a long time to get used to that. And he had to have accountability. So we had two agents, and as much as I want to hold him accountable, sometimes you just need it from other people. So him and another agent in the office, his name was Jim, they were accountability partners. They each wrote 5 $100 checks. Okay, and Monday through Friday, if they weren't there by 8 o'clock, the other agent got to cash the check.
Love it.
Accountability? These guys will be running into the office.
Right.
Okay. So they lost some. Mark lost some. Jim lost most of them. But that few $100s that Mark lost, he gained, tenfold on the business, even more than that, on the business that he created, because he's now in the office doing what he needs to do. On his first listing presentation, because part of this is also learning about scripts and dialogues. Well, Mark didn't really have, he had a script dialogue, it's like, here's what they're selling for, sign here. Well, that doesn't work on strangers that don't know you, they'll kind of look at you funny. All right, so he knew that these scripts and dialogues would work, but he would get out, he was in front of expired, and he just went back to what he was comfortable with. He didn't get the listing. So that property, this again was during a challenging time, so that property still didn't sell. He called him again after it expired for the second time, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to stick to the script. He grabbed, so this was, I remember talking to him, we were in the computer room, he grabbed a clipboard off the wall, which is kind of funny, because on the back of the clipboard it says, don't remove from room. He grabbed the scripts, okay, that were pre-printed, stuck it on the clipboard, and went out the door. So later that day, he came back with a signed listing agreement, much lower than what it was listed at before, and he ended up selling that property. So again, he wasn't comfortable at first, but he had enough. You know, you're kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay, so he was willing to do things differently. And then it's like, it worked. So even though he knew it would work until he had that experience, now it's like, so that was kind of a snowball effect, and we'll talk about that. All right, so again, it takes our focus upwards. So going back to that one thing, so this is what we're talking about. One goal, so that's 36 transactions in 12 months. For experienced agents, it could be an additional 36 transactions. Let's say they're already doing 36. You know, it's kind of going through these, and these are basic principles too. So this course that you could teach 20 years ago, probably 20 years in the future, it's what drives real estate. So creating 36 transactions in 12 months, one discipline, which we know now is lead generation, and our one habit of doing it 3 hours every day. Okay, that's what this course is built on. All right, so let's go to time, on the next page, page 15, time on the task over time. Time on the task over time. So there was a study that was done by Florida State University, Professor Erickson, and he wanted to prove this point. In one study of 20-year-old violinists, Erickson discovered that the best group, as judged by these conservatory teachers, had averaged the most hours of $10,000 of deliberate practice over their lives. The next best group was those that did 7,500 hours. The next best group was those that did 5,000. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? The more time we put into something, the better we're going to get at it. Again, it goes back to Mark. You know, as people say, well, he just has that natural talent. He does, but it only gets him so far. So then it went down to, for him, learning the scripts, you know, going over the dialogues, learning what to say, learning how to say it, and practicing over and over and over and over again. Okay, you send 2 people out, one has natural talent, but no practice. The other one has practiced over and over and over again. They're going to win most of the time. So it doesn't matter where you're at in your business, it doesn't matter what you know about sales. If you learn these principles, you're going to have success. It's pretty simple. It says the performance formula of champions, consistent time put in on one specific task over an extended period of time. So when we talk about scripts and dialogues, we say just take one script, write it down. Okay, keep it in your pocket. Go over and over it every day. Spend, 30 minutes a day writing that out. You want to get so good at it that it's part of you. I could call you at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, okay, give me your listing presentation. You would be able to do it. Okay, that's how good you want to be over it. And you can only get that good by practicing. All right, let's look at professional athletes. Let's look at professional performers, dancers. So now we're in the Tigers, we're in baseball season. When did their training start? A week before opening day?
No, Friday night.
The fall of it.
Started as kids.
Pardon me?
Started when they were kids.
It was started when they were kids, but as on a professional level, at minimum, it started at spring season, right? Spring training. Wait a minute, but these people are at the top of their game. Okay, where so many kids want to be professional athletes, so many high school kids, so many college kids, but only a small percentage get into professional, as a professional. Okay, but wait a minute, but they have to go to spring training? What are they learning at spring training that they didn't learn the year before? Or that they didn't learn when they were a kid? Way of hitting the ball, catching the ball? No. But they get paid millions of dollars to do this. They do it over and over and over and over again. That's what makes them a professional. Okay, same thing with an actor. You know, they learn the scripts, they internalize the scripts. I'm a big fan of Will Smith, and I really enjoyed the movie that he had, In Pursuit of Happiness. Is anyone familiar with that? So it's about a story about a gentleman named Chris Gardner. And Chris Gardner was actually at one of our Keller Williams events as a keynote speaker, which was fabulous. Well, one of the things that, in hearing Chris Gardner telling the story, which I think was better than the movie, and I thought the movie was good, but in him explaining things, Chris was hanging out with him, or excuse me, Will Smith was hanging out with Chris for a long time before the movie, because he really wanted to find out what Chris Gardner was really like. He also wanted to go down to the subway stations, to that bathroom. If you remember from the movie, he slept many nights in that bathroom. So Will Smith wanted to be there, wanted to see it, to feel it, to taste it, not taste it, to smell it. Okay, but you see what I mean? He's just getting into that. Okay, so again, that's why they get paid millions of dollars. But as a real estate professional, I don't need to learn those scripts. You know, I have my own way. I mean, at the end of a listing performance, where do I sign? Or they say, "Oh, thanks for coming over." Okay, as they're walking to the door. It just depends on how well you're going to practice. So again, it just takes time. Focus time. All righty. Let's jump to the 9 myths and truths of lead generation. So let's go around the room. We're going to get started on myth 1. Jake, can you start with myth 1?
Myth 1, myth, not all leads are good leads. True, there are no bad leads in real estate. They're just not all equal.
Absolutely. Number 2, who's going to get that one for me?
Myth, lead generation is really hard. Truth, lead generation is really simple and easy. So be careful that you don't confuse effort with enjoyment.
So that's the really hard part, because we're not digging ditches, are we? You know, we're not picking up people's garbage at 100-degree weather. You know, we're either knocking on doors or picking up phones. We're talking to people, and that's not that difficult. However, you know, this is a great point. You know, don't confuse effort with enjoyment, and we'll get into that in a minute. Number 3.
Myth, I'm too busy, I don't have time. Truth, it's not an issue of having time, it's an issue of making time.
Get 4.
If I do a good job, people will just come to me. Truth, some people will find you, but not enough or soon enough.
Okay. 5.
Myth, I can't lead generate because I don't know what to do or say. Truth, lead generation is a set of tasks and skills that are well understood and easily learned.
6.
I have enough business. Truth, there's no such thing as too much business. Oh, you're right.
7.
A myth, I don't have anyone to help me do everything that must be done. Truth, when you get enough of the kind of leads that turn into closings, you will be able to afford all the help you'll need.
8.
Myth, I don't have the money to lead generate. Truth, lead generation doesn't have to cost money.
Okay. And number 9.
No, I'm not a natural lead generator. True. No one is truly a natural lead generator. Everyone must be a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the next, they break these down. Not all leads are good leads. That's true. So we really want to categorize our leads. You know, in real estate, we talk about, are they willing, ready, and able? So if you have a willing, ready, and able buyer or seller, those are your A buyers. You want to focus the majority of your time on your A buyers. A B buyer or seller will have typically 2 out of the 3. So you want to stay in contact and cultivate that, because soon, hopefully, they will be an A buyer or seller. And then there's the third, a C buyer or seller. They typically have maybe 1 out of the 3. They're interested, but they might not have the means. They might have the motivation. So you want to be careful. You don't want to spend all your time on that. And another bold law is what you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. Who wants to take a guess at what that means? What you focus on expands.
If you focus on bad leads or leads that are the C leads, you're gonna get more C leads.
Correct. So if we're focusing on finding people that are ready, willing, and able to do something right now, what are we gonna find?
More people.
Right. So we want to keep that in mind. We're not just looking for leads. We are looking for people that are ready, willing, and able now. Okay, and we're going to find some of the others, but let's focus on those A's. The B's will automatically come. But if we're just focused on any lead, that's exactly what we'll get. All right. Lead generation is really hard. Myth number 2. And again, as the truth we heard, lead generation is really simple and easy, so be careful that we don't confuse effort with enjoyment. So, because some people have learned to make it enjoyable. Okay, so why for most of us is it uncomfortable?
Feel like you're bothering people?
Feel like I'm bothering people, absolutely. Why else?
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. Yeah, that's very good. What else?
I think with me, it's like you can't see the person, so I don't know who I'm really talking to.
Okay, I don't feel comfortable on the phone, can't see the person. Okay, what else? I don't want to beg for business. I don't want someone to hang up on me. And when we really look at this and dissect it, it almost starts to sound silly. So now there is somebody that's rejecting me. And most people don't like rejection. I certainly get it. I don't like rejection. But am I going to let somebody I don't know stop me from reaching my goal for me and my family? Do I know them? Do they know me? They just don't need my service right now. I get rejected on a daily basis from people I love. My wife, my girls, we all do. Okay, from people we love, but we still move forward. But we're gonna let a total stranger that hung up on us take us off from our goals, keep us from having the life we want to have and that we know we can have. Okay, the people that we're calling, there's a percentage of people that are wanting, needing to either buy a home and sell a home today, and you know what? They don't know who to call. Okay, and sometimes other people will call them, and they might not care as much as you do. They may not be doing it for the client's best interest, but only their best interest. And it was really thinking of that, I started to have a mindset shift. Because when I first got into business, I had the same fears that you guys have. I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to bug people, interrupt people, feel like I'm begging for business. But then when I would start seeing it over and over again, I had this shift in how I thought. It's like, I'm doing this to serve other people. And the more people I can serve, the more that's going to help me reach my goals. And then there's also the realization that there's lots of other agents out there that just don't care and that are going to provide very poor service and could end up costing these people thousands of dollars. I see it all the time, over and over again. Then it's like, I need to get a hold of them before somebody else does. And, it's, sometimes we have to get hit in the head a lot with this. Maybe it's just me and I have a thick head, but even just last year, it reappeared in my life that I'm involved with my church. I'm an elder in my church, and there's another elder that knew I was in real estate. So he thought, hey, they would, talk to me. Well, she ended up listing home with somebody else. I think she knew that other person too. It happens. And you want to get, and that was my first reaction. It's like, oh. But then it's like, okay, wait a minute. I can be mad at them, but did I ask her for business? Did I stay in contact with her about real estate? No, I didn't. Okay, so she ended up listing with somebody else. This agent was not a newer agent, but just didn't do a lot of business. This agent was also this listing and sale was the highest sale he ever had, so he wasn't familiar with that price point. It was also in a very, very hot market, even I think hotter then than it is now, so it was about a year ago, where we were placing properties on the market, like on a Tuesday, and this is when we could do it, the MLS Stop That, where there was like no showings till Friday. We'd have a ton of people in for the weekend, and then we'd have multiple offers. Well, he put it in like on a Saturday afternoon. They got a couple offers, they took one, but he didn't market it well enough or have enough time in the market. They could have gotten more offers. So it cost her thousands of dollars. I'm positive of that, because I didn't stay in contact with her about real estate. So now I still, you know, it kind of makes me feel bad. So that's how I started thinking about things now. It's like, I'm not doing it, yeah, am I doing it to provide for my family? Yes. But I'm only to provide for my family if I help enough people get to their goals. So then it's not about money, you know, it's about saving them from a bad agent. All right. So myth number 3, I'm too busy, I don't have time. Too busy with what? You know, your deal, we'll say that's single, not plural. Okay, it's so true, because that's the reality of it. Because you work hard, and now you got a deal, and you stop doing what you were doing to get that deal. And this is no different than other things in our life. For instance, Weight Watchers. I'm at the heaviest weight I've ever been in my life. You know, which really stings, but I'm not doing the things that I was doing when I lost weight. And I had great success with the Weight Watchers. And it was their point program. And the first time, and also the accountability, I went with a bunch of people in my office, so we did it together. There was accountability. Because many times I didn't want to go to that meeting, but my other managers were going, my boss was going. So like, I better go. And it was that time we had a point system, and I think I had like 22 points for the day. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Weight Watchers, you know, every food you eat has a point to it. And I remember, you know, writing on paper of all the points that I had that day. And I mean, I was at lunchtime and I already went through all my points. And I kept erasing, I'm like, no, that can't be right. I'm messing something up. No, it was right. You know, I couldn't have dinner because I ate it. But I wouldn't have realized that if I didn't have the accountability of writing everything down. You know, and even sometimes the stuff you just snack on, it's only a few bites. It's only a few bites. You know, well, you gotta write those things down too, because they add up. So again, it's accountability. But so I was doing those things, I was being more active, I was tracking what I ate, and guess what? I lost weight. I lost a lot of weight. Okay, then there's that roller coaster. So then after I lost weight, it's like, well, I can have a donut every now and then. You start off with just a couple of Timbits, and the Timbits run into just give me the whole donut. You know, and now I'm at a heavier weight. So we had the Biggest Loser contest when I was at the Plymouth office. So I had this app, which was really cool, My Fitness Pal, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So you can put in your intake of your food, you put in your goal of where do I want to be. Sounds familiar, right? We did that in real estate, all right? And then it says, okay, if you want to be at this weight on this time frame, okay, here's how many calories you could consume on a daily basis. So then I'd input accountability, I'd input what I ate, and it would be like, you're on track. You know, keep doing this and you'll be at this weight. So that's kind of motivational. Okay, and guess what? I lost weight. Okay, I won the contest. All right? So, and here was also having a goal. When I first participated in this contest, it wasn't because I wasn't overweight. I was. It wasn't because I wanted to lose weight. It wasn't because I wanted to live longer and be with my children. It was really because I felt like as a leader I needed to participate. And in the very beginning, I kind of did it half-heartedly. But then I realized, because how the contest went, we had, everyone who participated would put in $120. It was a 12-week program. Okay, so $10 a week. And if you lost weight, you got $10 credited back to you. So you could finish the program with all your money back. If you gained weight, $10 went to the kitty. Well, halfway through, I realized, wait a minute, there's a lot of money in this kitty. You know, and I kind of calculated, I'm like, I wanted a camera, and I didn't really want to spend money out of our family account for this camera. So now there was this goal, and it wasn't the goal to live longer, healthier. I'm being honest, it was a goal of, I want this camera. But I was already through, I'm like halfway through the program, I didn't lose a whole lot of weight. But this goal wasn't so important to me. I put the picture of the camera on my phone. I had it in my mirror, in my bathroom. I had it in my car. Every time I turned around, I saw this camera. I visualized it of how it would feel opening up it's a 99 camera. And I might be kind of crazy, but it's like you're really getting into it. The thickness of the cardboard, the glossiness of the box, the smell of the new camera smell. I saw myself opening up this camera, touching it, feeling it. Okay, and I knew exactly what I needed to do to get there. I had the motivation of always being in front of me, this photo. Okay, guess what? I won the contest. So real estate should be the same way, and we'll get to in other chapters that you need to have your goals. You need to have a step-by-step plan. Have a dream board. Those things with me. Those things that you want to achieve this year, next year, 5 years from now in front of you. Because real estate's going to get hard, and you were reminded of why am I doing this? Okay, so that process is no different than the process that we go through. And I have no idea how I got that from Myth 101. I'm too busy. But anyways.
No, it's because of it's hard.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
that's what you're talking about.
Yes, and people working on that one deal, again, not, we work on the one deal and we stop doing everything else. So, I mean, going to different training events, I always would laugh that agents like, well, I don't have time to do that. And these are agents that are doing, it's just like saying, well, I'm not busy. You're doing half my production and you're too busy. Okay, and looking at other top agents too of what the training they're taking, and me saying I'm too busy. It's like, wait a minute, they're probably busier than I am, or are they leverage their time? They're spending more time in that 20%. So are we busy for the sake of being busy? All right, myth 4. I don't have to lead generate. If I do a good job, people will just come to me. I know some great agents that are smarter than I am about real estate, but they don't do a whole lot of business. Okay? Because these people, it's important to do a good job, and I always tell all my clients that I'm working with, my goal isn't just to have one transaction. My goal is that they're going to want to refer me to their friends and family. I don't make a living by just selling one deal. Okay? So I set that up from the beginning because, again, I can be the greatest agent, and I'll probably get some business from it, but not enough to reach me to my goal, and not fast enough. So this is, the truth is we need to go out and find people, not wait for them to find us. Myth number 5, I can't lead generate because I don't know what to do or I don't know what to say. We help you with that. These other programs, we can tell you exactly what to say. More importantly, how to say it. Because if we break down the different ways we communicate, there is the words that we use, there's our body language, and there's our tonality. So words, tone, and body language. All right? What has the least percentage of effective communication out of those 3?
Words.
The words. Okay? So it's important to know the words, but a larger portion comes from our body tonality, which we learn. Myth 6, I don't need to lead generate. I have enough business. Do we even need to go there? Okay. I don't have anyone to help me do everything that must be done. And that's a real challenging one for me because I want to do a really good job. But the reality is, if I'm spending all that time on supporting and not doing lead generation, I'm not going to be in the business. So there could be a point in your life where things get a little bit messy because you're building your business. That's okay. Just don't keep it messy. Because if you're building it, and you're doing the lead generation where you're able to have other people help you, okay, you're going to get that cleaned up. But if you just stay on the safe side, I can only do a few transactions, because you don't want it to get messy, you're afraid that not everything's going to get done, you're never going to break through that ceiling. Make sense? Pardon me?
I said, use your kids.
Use your kids. That could be a good one, absolutely. And there's also, there's people that you could hire, part-time. I know the office is working on finding other people you could, pay hourly to help you. So there's lots of resources out there. All right. Myth 8, I don't have the money to lead generate. So Michael Perna, Michael Perna, he started his business. Before he had the top team across the country. I remember he was competing against some of the big hitters I had in my office. And sometimes he would beat them out. And I remember my agents, because we're in the same office, like, how is he doing this? You know, because he didn't have the experience. He didn't have a marketing budget. So my agents were calling people. This is, again, where it was a bad market, so there was a ton of expires. So, you know, well, the ones that Mike wanted, he wouldn't call. He would go up and knock on the door. How much money did that cost him? Gas money? Okay, that's how he was able to beat out some of these other top agents, do things a little bit differently. And again, he didn't have a big budget of marketing to him. He'd go up, show up in the world, knock on the door. So you don't have to have money to lead generate. Myth 9, I can't lead generate because I'm not a natural generator. And again, nobody is. It's spending the time learning what to do and going over it and over it and over it until it becomes part of you. All right, page 25, the 36-12-3 challenge. So again, we talked about it. We're looking to do 36 transactions in 12 months by spending 3 hours every workday on lead generation. All right, so question, what can I spend 3 hours doing every day that will do more to build my business than lead generate? I don't have anything either. Okay, the hard truth, no leads equal no sales equals no closings equal no income. Okay, no one has ever been able to come up with an acceptable answer to the question we asked. Adopting the habit needed to commit your time every single workday to discipline lead generation is the single most important step you can take in building a successful business. All right, the goal, 36 transactions on page 26. Gary talks about don't settle for average. Average is never successful. And we talked about earlier, Jay and I, because Jay's just getting started in real estate. Do you know that, what would you guess, ask it that way, what's the average number of transactions a real estate agent sells in a given year?
Sell, new or season?
Average.
Average agent, okay. Sales, maybe 15?
15, okay, who else? 5. It's about 5.
Wow.
That's what average gets you. Okay, average, you'd be better off being a greeter at Walmart, I'm not kidding, than to be an average agent.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because there's a lot of people that are agents. Okay, but the reality is, if you're good at it, the sky's the limit. Okay, and that's what's attractive to many people about real estate for many different reasons. You may say, no, I'm not interested in making a lot of money. Maybe I'm interested in just working part-time, but I want to make, $50,000. But I want to spend time with my family. Great. We can create a plan for that. Some people might be more ambitious, saying, I want to do 100 transactions a year. I want to make $1 million. We have a plan for that. So the cool thing is, you can have your business can look the way you want it to do, or your business can look the way you want it to look. Let's go to next page. By closing 36 transactions, you will make more money in the business and be profitable, build a solid foundation for your career to run on for the rest of your life, feel the satisfaction of having helped many families successfully buy or sell a home, close enough deals to have a sense of which lead generation activities you do well, which you need to work on, and which have a high return on your investment for you, and which likely you do not. Establish the habits and skills that can launch you to achieve even more, gain respect and recognition from your clients and colleagues, earn the right and the money to hire an executive assistant to come work with you. And also, pay close attention how they say that. Earn the right and the money to hire. What do they mean by earn the right?
Well, because if you don't have any business, why would you need an executive assistant?
Yes. Okay, so there's certain things you need to do first. Okay, and even let's say you have lots of money, but you're just wasting it. Unless you have a system, unless you have your habits in place, you may be independently wealthy, they can afford to hire somebody, but what are they going to do?
Right.
Okay. All right, so let's put average behind us and focus on doing our best and becoming our best. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter your level of education. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. It only matters of what are you going to do today to move forward. It doesn't matter that if you're a seasoned agent, but you're not at the level you need to be. Okay? Again, going back to, well, what are you going to do today to build your business, to take action? And that's what this program helps you with. All right, so what does 36,000 or 36 mean to you? So we're going to actually, you guys can cover this later, but we want to look at, you know, what's those numbers? Well, actually, we'll do an example right now. So average sales price. So I think our average sales price for the office, let's just do round numbers, let's say 200,000. Okay, so as an example, we could say 200,000. Average commission is 3%. Okay, so our average gross commission income, which we also say GCI. Okay, so it's $6,000. So $6,000 times 36.
216.
Who's good with math? My phone just stopped working.
216.
$216,000. Okay, obviously that's our gross commission, so we have to subtract our what we call our desk fee or our franchise fee of $18,000, and then we have our royalty of $3,000. Okay, so where does that leave us?
$195.
Okay, so $195,000 GCI, and that's using our average sales price, 36 transactions.
I said minus Uncle Sam.
Minus Uncle Sam. But who's okay with that?
I'm sure Uncle Sam is too.
It can be done, okay? It just depends on, are you gonna do the things to get there? So on your own, part number 2 here, just take a few minutes. So what was that number again? $195,000 minus taxes. What could that do for you? What can you do for others? So take a moment, and we'll take a few minutes and start writing things down. So if you're able to make $195,000 in the next 12 months, what does it mean? When I'm coaching agents, when they come up to me, I mean, especially as newer agents, so a round number that I hear a lot is, I want to make $100,000. Great. Why? Okay, people don't want to make $100,000 to walk around with a bunch of dead presidents in their pockets.
Right.
Okay, it's what that $100,000 means to them, what they can do for it. So what would it do for you? What would it do for your family? Sure. What would $195,000 mean to you? And you don't have to share, but if somebody wanted to.
Help pay off my kids' college loans.
Nice. Help pay off your kids' college loans. Excellent. I'll share one of mine. Okay, it's on my goal board is to buy a RV, recreational vehicle. I want to travel around. My girls are 5 and 7, and time goes by really, really fast. And you blink, they're grown up. So I want to spend a lot of quality time with them. So every day I get up in the morning, I think about who's the next person I could help. where do I need to find that next transaction? Somebody I can help, so if I help them, they're gonna help me reach my goal. Okay, anyone else wanna share?
Be able to afford our kids to go to the best schools and education.
Great. So what would them going to better schools mean?
Future scholarships.
Future-
Yes.
All right. So going to better schools, possibly better scholarships. So what does that mean if they went to better schools and better scholarships?
Then I don't have to pay for it later.
That's what I said. I'll pay for it later. Okay. But you have the money to pay for it.
Right.
Yes.
So what would that mean?
For them, other opportunities to help other people.
Better opportunities?
Be the best they can be.
Absolutely. So when we start looking at this, we really want to dig deeper of, why we want to do that. Because once we get a clear idea, we're crystal clear of what that can do, it cements in our mind more of why that's so important. Because me, it's not just the RV of having this thing that I got to store someplace. It's us being around a campfire. It's us seeing new places. It's us enjoying time together. That's what it's about. And that's what I gotta remind myself about, because when I get somebody that hangs up on me, maybe he's rude, it's like, no one's stopping me from getting that from my family. Nobody. Because I'm out here helping people. I'm not like some bozo or somebody, sometimes I don't get mad at the person, but then again, it's like, you know what, they must have bigger issues that they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pray for them.
Yeah.
So, because people that usually come out with the being mean or hatred, there's other reasons. It's not because of me. So, all right. So next page, let's see here, 29. The time, 12 months. So it takes time. I always get a kick out of this little cartoon I saw, and it was this rabbit that was basically looking at. It was at his carrot that was growing, and then he was looking at his buddy's carrot that was like, okay, so this is the ground. So what he didn't realize, this was his carrot, and here was his buddy's carrot.
Yeah.
And basically as a reminder of don't judge your insides by somebody else's outsides. So don't be looking at other people. Let's look at ourselves. And this time, it takes time to build this business. It doesn't happen overnight. We talked about real estate, it's a 90-day cycle. So we're going to, it's so funny, we talk about, it's a lot about like farming that we relate it to. And we even call it farming. You plant the seed, you water it, you take care of it. And it takes time now for that to build, for that to grow. Okay. So let's see here, and we're skipping a few things. I highly recommend going through it at your own time frame, just because we don't have enough time in the class. There's a lot of great information in here. So 31, we talked about it earlier on an earlier graph. It's unrealistic to think that I'm going to start today and it's just going to go skyrocket. Okay. It takes time. And again, it takes time where it's going to get frustrating and it's going to get hard. And you just need to realize that as long as you're doing what you need to do, just keep moving forward. All right, you'll break through. All right, so let's see here, page 32. And it was really Gary's story here. And there's also a video online about a story. He really wasn't the greatest agent when he first started. I think he only did like a couple transactions. Okay, then he realized what was available, what he could do, and he learned how to do it. And he built his real estate career of being a top agent, and then obviously building the top real estate company from the same principles. So there's a video online on mycreativity.com that shares his story, so I definitely encourage you to do that. Exercise, again, where you are today, because it's important to know where we're at today, so we need to know what we need to change to move forward. So you guys can do that on your own too. So let's get into the nitty-gritty here of that habit, the 3 hours a day. It's about time blocking. So in my calendar, I time block, so my calendar's on my computer, so it syncs to my phone. But every morning from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I have time blocked for prospecting. And for instance, for today, I have to move that, okay, because I'm here with you guys. So sometimes things come up, you know, but I can choose to not do it. What's that? Yeah, I'm gonna start to go down. Yeah, if I'm not doing those things, if I stop counting my points, you know what happens. You know, I didn't eat a 15-pound burrito all at once, you know. It was all those small burritos that got me to the point where I'm at. And on the flip side is I'm not gonna lose that weight overnight either. Okay, but I know if I start tracking my points, if I start tracking what I do, if I start tracking what I eat, okay, I'm going to have the results that I need. So this talks about doing that. Page 35, got the new attitude. I'm a lead generator before anything else, and above all else, goes back to, you know, the knowing what we need to do. The 3-hour lead generation rules on page 36 talks about time block 3 hours every workday before noon. No skipping. If you must erase, then you must replace. A good reminder of that. Allow no interruptions unless they're real emergencies. Obviously, if something comes up with your family where you need to go, but and that's sometimes a challenge too, because we want to find ways, and let's be honest, we want to find distractions. Okay, oh, my voicemail light's blinking. Oh, I got this email. Oh, I think it's time for a cup of coffee. We do. We want to find the distractions, and we find them. But again, if we had a strong mindset of, okay, the only way for me to get to my goals is by talking to people. Yes, it's not easy, okay, but I can help people. I know it works. So it's removing those distractions. And some people go to a very far extent to remove them. There's this one gal, she wasn't in my office, but in the coaching program I was involved with Mike Ferry coaching program, she was actually one of the coaches. So to get her out of the habit of going out of her office, she had her assistant lock her in her office, okay, and took her clothes. So she had her bathing suit on. So she could not leave, and she had blinds on the window, so no one could see in. But that kept her from leaving her office. You know, it's kind of funny because with agents, even the agents that are prospecting, they'll want to take, like they get an appointment, they want to take a lap, to high five people, but also it's kind of like, wait a minute, get back in there. You know, your time's not up. Okay, they're looking for distractions. I remember Mike Ferry has 2 sons. So Mike Ferry is a very large, popular real estate trainer, and he has his 2 sons that started the business with him. They would actually take handcuffs and they would do it around their ankle to the desk chair or to the desk table. We can't leave. Now, would you have a little bit of urgency if you had to go to the bathroom, but make sure you got in your contacts? Absolutely. So there's all these different games you can play with yourselves, but it's like, what's going to help me for me to do what I need to do? What's going to help me focus? And sometimes, you know, at first I thought, oh, those are silly games, but they work. So who cares if they're silly, if they work for me? So it's finding out what motivates you, what's going to help you more. Right. And, you know, shutting the door, you know, getting rid of those distractions. Turn off your phone, turn off your email, you know, whatever you need to do to avoid that. All right. Chris Heller, who's now the new CEO of Keller Williams. All right, he was a top agent. Also, I've known him for many years because he was also involved in the Mike Ferry coaching program. So yeah, here's a guy that started off as an agent, built his business, now owns offices, was president of KW Worldwide, now the CEO of Keller Williams. Okay, and he did it by, he goes, plan your day around your lead generation, not your lead generation around your day. Okay, so put that in first. So he talks about, he goes, next step is to remove distractions. In one office that he worked, and Chris would put a piece of tape over the voicemail light that flashed on the phone. he didn't want to be distracted by that message that was waiting for him, he suggests leaving your cell phone off and out of sight as well. Because you might think that all this comes quite naturally to Chris, but he knows differently. This discipline is just a habit, he says. People aren't born with it. It's just a habit that gets created. Now, we have positive habits and we have negative habits. Our mind doesn't care. It doesn't care if it's a positive or negative one. If we keep doing it over and over again, it's going to become a habit. Tie the effort to the outcome. The 3R habit is about injecting predictability in our business, and that was said earlier this morning too. Once you make the commitment, start the discipline, establish the habit, you suddenly can start seeing exactly what outcomes result from your efforts. If you are making enough calls every day, you will quickly discover that those calls produce a predictable number of appointments, which will produce a predictable amount of closed business. The lead generation is about repetition, and repetition can truly be boring. It becomes monotonous. Okay? So now, breathing is boring too, but try to do something else instead and see where that gets you. Repetition and boredom usually go together. It's hand in hand. I mean, you see these performers on stage singing, or on Broadway. They're doing the same performance night in and night out. They're practicing the same thing over and over and over again. A certain point of anything, I think, is going to be repetitious and boring. Okay, so I could be, sitting in a 9-to-5 job in a cubicle and be bored out of my mind. Or I can do this, which is more difficult, but a lot more satisfying. All right. Let's go to working with focus. So I have something here. I want to do this real quick. So, multitasking came huge, 20 years ago, the term multitasking. So what is multitasking? Yep, okay, and we all multitask, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and we all believe that if we multitask, we will get more done quicker, right? Because that's the purpose of it, doing things over and over again. So, can I get someone to help me here? I need two people to help. Thank you. Okay. So what we have here is 15 pennies. Go ahead and have a seat. 15 pennies and 15 paper clips. So what I'd like you guys to do, and we're going to time this. Okay. So what here? I want to make sure I set this stage properly. We're going to show multitasking, how it works. So what we're going to do is, so Jay, you're going to, let's see here, stack the pennies, okay, link the paper clips, and draw 15 stars. Okay? So again, you're going to stack the pennies one on top of another. You're going to link all 15 paper clips. Okay, and then when we go with that, you're going to do 15 stars. You're going to do, stack one penny, one paper clip, one star. You're going to multitask.
All in a row?
So you're going to put one penny on, then you're going to grab a paper clip, you're going to draw a star. You're going to select the second penny on it.
Oh, I see.
Now you're going to select, put the other paper clip together and draw a star.
Got it.
You're doing the same thing that he's doing, but you're multitasking. You're doing 3 things at once. Okay? Understand? Any questions? All right, let's see how multitasking works here. Wait. She's getting ready.
I got my pen open. His pen's already open.
Okay. Sorry. My phone's not. Who's got a stopwatch or on your phone timer? We actually want to do like a stopwatch on the phone because it kind of counts down. Or get it. I'd rather do it on the phone so everyone can see it. Who's got an iPhone?
I do, I can do the timer. Do
Yeah.
you need a countdown?
Yes, not a countdown, but a
Stopwatch?
Stopwatch. Yes.
Okay. You can guess.
Okay. So you guys ready? Everyone knows? Okay, go. got 3 stars. Jay's done with the pennies.
Oops, I've got 2 already. I'm cheating. 2 already together. Okay, thank you. I ran on paper clips.
That kind of stunk. Okay,
I was like 2 paper clips short.
Yeah, okay. So Jay's done. So what would have happened? What would have happened? It takes longer. Yeah, she was pretty quick though. too.
Yeah.
Jay struggled with some of those paper clips at first, and also there were some that were connected too. So it's kind of a silly little thing, but multitasking doesn't work. What's really happening? What's really happening when we're multitasking?
You're still only focused on one thing.
Correct.
And so you're not all
Correct.
together trying to
Yeah.
do everything.
A computer doesn't do, when computers were first made, now there's multi-chips in them that do multiple things, but they're still multi-chips. The first thing they would do one thing, but they'd do it fast back and forth. Now we can do simple things like chew and walk at the same time. Okay, but even having telephone conversations, if you had an in-depth conversation and then forget that you missed your turn.
Oh, all the time.
Okay, and that's really what multitasking is, because we're focused on the conversation. You can't be focused on 2 things at the same time. You can go back and forth a lot, okay, but when you go back and forth, now you're, it's like when you're, so if you have your GPS, and like turn here, you're stopped to think on that conversation, okay, I gotta turn here, is the traffic clear? And then you go back to the call. Okay?
What'd you say?
You're gonna miss something.
Yes, so in anything, thank you. Give her on the hand. I hope that didn't work though.
I think I was a lot calmer than her too, though. She's stressed out.
She was trying to prove her point that we can multitask.
Competitive.
But if we can, and here they are. So actually there was 3 paper clips short.
Oh, okay, over there.
So I messed that one up. So, again, if you would do that with other people, you would realize, multitasking just does take us longer. We think we're saving time, but if you just focus on one thing, okay, you would get that thing done much quicker. All right. So let's go to page 41. Focus and intensity equals results. Okay, so page 41. Okay, so you're prepared to focus on one thing that will make the most difference in your real estate career. You guys have the page?
I have a fact sheet in here.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is not.
So it's everyone got the fact sheet.
No,
Somebody's sign order.
I did.
I did that.
Okay. All right. Thumbs up. Thank you. All right. But do you know how to channel and apply the intensity required to see the results you want? The next time you have the opportunity to watch a surgeon at work, even if on a documentary film, notice their focus on the degree of intensity. Nothing distracts them. Nothing takes them out of the zone. So, yeah, this isn't rocket science, this isn't, someone's life or death, but do we have that same type of intensity? Do we have that same type of focus? Or are we just going to routine? And that's the hard part too. Once you start creating this habit, you run into other challenges. Now, let's say you get a habit of calling people. You almost expect them to say no, because we hear so many no's, and when they do say yes, you kind of like, what do I say now? I say, oh, What'd you say? Okay, so we really have to pay attention to what we're doing and have the intensity and the focus. All right, what does intensity look like for you? Just take a moment to think of an aspect of your life that requires intensity and to achieve the results you want. Okay, so obviously about my weight, I like to eat, but when I get into something, I'll sometimes forget to eat. Because I'm so focused on that, I'm so excited about that, I'm no longer hungry. I find myself getting more hungry when I'm not doing anything. Is it just me? No. Okay, you said no. Okay. So again, it goes back to that focus and that intensity. Okay, so question, now how will you bring the same focus and degree of intensity to your 3 hours of regeneration every day? What will be your routine, your system? What triggers to help you get into your regeneration intensity zone? What will an environment need to be like? Who will be there to help you prepare, to help you stay in the zone, or help you measure your results, going back to that accountability. So I know that there's people do different things to get in it. Some people like to listen to upbeat music. Some people actually dance around in their office to build up their energy. There's one guy that actually filmed it and put it on YouTube. It's hilarious. Okay, he does a lot of business. That's how he gets pumped up. That's how he gets into his zone. That's how he gets focused. Maybe it's going over some affirmations. Maybe if it's reading something short in a good book to motivate you. Maybe it's reviewing your goals. And that was another thing too, on that app that I had. I was motivated by my success. I was motivated on going through my goal. And the same thing is, this first quarter I was not where I needed to be, and I was off track. I had my goals, but I got so busy I didn't have everything down on my spreadsheet that I now have that told me where I'm at. And then I could forecast that spreadsheet saying, okay, I'm here now, it's the first quarter. If I forecast this out, where am I going to be at the end of the year? Oh, that's exciting. So every week now, I'm looking at this, where I'm at, and I'm forecasting where I'm going to be. Again, for me, that just motivates me to move forward. All right, the anatomy of 3 hours. So what to do in the 3 hours. And this is what we talked about earlier. It's just not all time on the phone. We need to prepare. Your prepare time is your get ready to generate time. This is when you'll practice your scripts, do research in the MLS, place your signs prior to an open house, make a list of people you need to call, and so forth. All right. So the biggest thing in the morning is just, again, who are you going to contact? You should never be at a point, well, I don't know, I don't have anyone else to call. Never, ever, ever should you be at that point. Unless you just decided to build your business on people you know, which could be a challenge, okay, there's always people to call. So you want to make sure you have plenty of numbers so you don't, when you start calling, you don't run out. All right. 2, take action. Okay. This is time for you to take action. You make contact with people, and that's the whole point of regeneration. Take action time is the indispensable component of every 3-hour daily commitment. So again, we can do all this preparing, all this maintaining, but if we're not taking action, we're not going to go anywhere. Top producers spend at least 1 to 2 hours every day in the action mode, making calls, visiting contacts, knocking on doors. If you aren't taking action every day, you're not really going to consistently lead generate. Your maintenance time is about wrap up and follow up. You'll likely spend a portion of your 3 hours on activities such as writing follow up notes, adding context to your database, tracking your numbers to determine if your lead generation activities are providing a return on your investment. Okay, and we can go through more on our sessions too. All right, so it kind of digs down more into the prepare. Again, your call list, rehearsing scripts, and also have accountability partners. We should all have role play partners too. And your role play partners, I know part of the morning routine they're doing, they're also role playing. So within that, and you want to role play again the same way you would with the same intensity level, actually a higher intensity level than you would on the call. So it's almost going to be a little bit silly. Why do we want to do that? where we have more energy and enthusiasm in our role play than we will our call. Human nature, we're gonna tone it down once we're on the call. So if we just role play at a regular level, when we tone it down, we're gonna sound pretty boring. But if we have a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm when we're role playing, when we tone it down, at least we sound like we're alive. Okay? And we also want to role play positive outcomes of getting the appointment. You're gonna make your role play partner work for it, okay? But you still give them the appointment. There's no need for us to role play a negative outcome. So also preparing, let's see here, handouts for if you're going door to door, prepare for open houses, mail out invitations, taking action, obviously making the calls, knocking on doors, open houses. I think open houses, you have to be careful of, because there's different ways of doing open houses. If you do it the Keller Williams model way, you're definitely better off. It's called the 7th level open house. Most open houses, most agents, they're going to put a sign in the front lawn a week before, if that, and they're going to show up the day of the open house, and they're going to sit there because no one's coming through. But if you do it on a 7th level, you're proactively going out and talking to people, inviting others to the open house, inviting the neighborhood to your open house. Again, it's proactive, not just passive. All right. Let's see here, maintaining, obviously, you want to put people in your database. There's 3 ways we can get business from people. We can get business immediately from them, or we call up somebody and they want to buy and sell. We could get a referral from them that they're not looking to buy and sell, but they know somebody who has, or put them in our database, okay, and cultivate that need. Eventually, when they do have the need, they'll do business with us. So, page 45, the real estate productivity roller coaster. This is kind of where we started from. It talks about the agony and the ecstasy, because it's fun. You know, when things are clicking, you're busy. Last week I had like 3 people wanting to write an offer in one day. You know, that gets pretty exciting. But if I don't make time to degenerate, it's going to cost me down the line. And that's the agony part.
So how do you handle that, Lloyd, when you have 3 people want to make an offer in one day? So you just schedule it out after the lead generation time? So if you erase, replace. So I ended up working till about midnight on Friday night. That's just the reality of it. But again, there's different events. So when you sit down and you do your calendar, and do your goals, you're going to want to I put in my family stuff first, because that's most important. And then I put in my business. So like for this weekend, I am off this upcoming weekend. Taking my family, going camping, I'm off. But this past weekend, I was working. So to work to midnight, that was okay, because that was wasn't necessarily in my schedule, but we got busy. I have 3 people that want to write offers, I want to make time. Absolutely. That's the whole goal. Legion.
Right. So if I had a daughter's dance, I would have to get that rescheduled for Saturday. So it's sometimes difficult. One of the appointments I was late on. You know, I hate to be late, but I told them, I'm still. When I set the appointment with them, I told them I had another appointment before. Don't know how it's going to last, how long it's going to last. But you just do those things, keep people informed. Sure. I had the opening in my schedule to do it. So, okay. Right, how to get off the roller coaster. All right, and I'm sure after all this, you guys know how to get off the roller coaster.
Keep feeding your
Lead
generation. Okay. Let's skip to 49. To be wired to win, you must be wired for leads. So this is a really fun story. So Gary Gentry, he's the first Keller Williams agent. He's agent number 1. He's the first one to join the company when Gary formed it. He approached Gary Keller and says, you're really inspiring. Gary Keller responded to his dear friend saying, really, wow, or really, wow. Thank you for saying that, but why do you say that? Gary Gentry replied, I've never met anyone who has screwed up and failed as much as you have and still come back from it and continue to grow. Well, this seems to be a backhand sort of compliment. It certainly is an accurate observation about Gary Keller as an individual who is wired to win. And John Maxwell recently wrote a book a few years ago, Failed Forward. So what do you think he was meaning by failed forward? Anyone want to take a stab at it? Or if anyone read the book?
When you fail, Paul.
I was just thinking maybe he means you learn from what you did wrong and apply it to your new process.
Correct. Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also talk about different personality styles. That's considered a D if we're looking at the DISC, or analytical, which I'm part of that. And you don't want to make, you would rather make no decision than the wrong decision. But the problem that creates is you're not moving forward. With Gary Keller, he wasn't afraid to make a mistake. You guys should be making mistakes. You should be making a lot of mistakes. Okay, because that means you're moving forward. But when you make that mistake, you look at it, okay, what can I do better next time? How do I stop that from happening? But don't be afraid not to make mistakes. And it talks about failing forward. So I got this, I want to share with you guys real quick. Can somebody hit the lights, please? Let me get this.
I don't know how to do it, Lloyd.
The bottom under, yep, there we go. So we just got to let this warm up here for a second. So as we look at it, we see, sometimes we see very highly successful people, and where sometimes it looks natural. But when we really learn the story, behind the story, we realize it didn't necessarily come naturally. So I have this PowerPoint that I did many years ago for my office at the time, called Fail Your Way Forward. Now the video is not on here, so we'll just skip that one. Okay, so this person dropped out of college and started a company called Data. The company failed because the product was unacceptably buggy. You want to know who this was? He dropped out of college. Okay, in 1954, he was banished from the Grand Ole Opry after one performance and told, "You ain't going nowhere, son. Better get you all a job back driving a truck." Any guesses? One performance, he was told, "Go back to driving a truck." A Baltimore TV producer told her that she was unfit for television news.
Oh, good. Barbara loves this.
Unfit for TV. In 1947, 1 year into her contract, she was dropped by 20th Century Fox because her producer thought she